What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode 43 of our Sochaux Montbéliard Let's Play here in Football Manager 2018. And well, today, it's the start of Season 5, our 5th season here in France. And well, after last season's 3rd place finish, I feel like we go into this season with, well, fresher optimism. Hope that we can maybe crack the top 2 this year, although I do still feel like that is going to be a massive ask against the likes of Monaco and PSG. But we do have Champions League football for the first ever time here at Sochaux during my reign in charge. And, well, we'll be hoping, I guess, to have a nice little run in Europe this year, if possible, although it's not going to be easy, let's put it that way. So anyway, you can see the start of the season is here. In terms of where we're going to be kicking things off today, it is going to be a game against PSG in the Trophée des Champions, which I assume is the company... Oh, sorry, the competition that is taken between the winners, of course, Ligue 1, PSG, and ourselves, who, of course, won the French Cup to wrap up last season. Before we get into that game, which is actually quite early on in pre-season at the end of July, we will go through the transfers that have happened so far. And I say so far because I feel like more still might happen, you know, down the line. So we'll start with the outs, and actually there were a few outs this year. You can see we recouped £20.5 million, a really good sum of money, particularly for mostly players who I don't feel like are as crucial to our team as I guess they should be for the prices that we've received. So, yeah, we'll go through some of these. The first player we sold, you can see here, Moroni. He's gone to West Ham for £10.5 million. Good little fee, I think, for this guy. Of course, he was playing second fiddle to Almada last season, and, well, it was just good to cash in on him. You can see when you can compare the two players, Almada, by far and away, a better player. Moroni has been good for us, but I feel like to get £8 million for a player who only played 18 games last season, despite having some really good performances, to be fair, is... a good bit of business as far as we're concerned. Yes, he performed well last season, but he wasn't playing too often. We brought him in for £1.8 million to get £8.25 million up front, with the possibility for that to raise higher than £10 million. Is smart business. The next player we sold, a player who I did talk about selling, I believe, a few episodes ago. It's Austin Ibrahim. In fact, it may have even been, now I think about it, in last year's Academy episode. But you can see here, 20 years old Nigerian. My scout, now he's left the club, only says he has a 46 kind of rating. You can see here we sold him to Sunderland in the Championship. Last year he was on loan in Ligue 2. He had a very good season at Rouen, but you can see for us never really made any appearances. We've moved him on. We brought him in for £80,000. 1 year he was at the club, and well, actually it might be 2 years, but we've sold him on now for £5.75 million up front, but that fee could rise as high as £9 million. So yeah, really I think good business there to get a sale of that size for a player who just wasn't in the first team. Yes, he had a good season last year. An example of selling a player whilst he's hot, because I don't know if he's got the potential to make it in our first team. Anyway, the next player we sold, a bit of a bittersweet moment. This Dougie Pote has gone to Norwich City, a player who we signed during our first season in charge for £50,000. 4 years at the club. Last year only made 3 league appearances. He's left the club for £2.2 million. It's some nice profit made. I'm sure Norwich are going to benefit from his addition. And, well, to be honest, I hope he does quite well for them. There is a possibility you can see here for the fee to rise to £3 million. Anyway, a few other players to go through real quick. Pana has gone for £1.4 million. A little bit cheaper than I'd like, but last year he only played 10 games. Wasn't as crucial to us. You can see the scout summary, 34% kind of recommended score. With a lot of the younger players we've got coming into the team, I need to open up opportunities. Pana, whilst it would have been nice to play him, you know, here and there, I've got young players who can play the same position and kind of fulfill the similar kind of squad role to him, and so to cash in for him, I think kind of made sense. A few other players we let go, Privo, Lacroix and Lasmi all left the club. Of course, players who were here when we first joined. A little bit sad to see some of them go, but at the end of the day, they weren't really making a mark. And the only other sale of real note was Fares, who we signed last year for £1.6 million. Didn't make a single appearance. Not the best signing in the world. He moved on to Almere for £1 million. So good money there. Anyway, in terms of the ins, we did spend big. You can see £20 million received. With that, we spent £15 million of it. And actually, more than half of that was spent on one player. We've got here Jeff Reniadelaide. And to be honest, he's a very good player. Really good kind of resourceful attacking midfielder and centre mid if we need him to play there. A player who I don't think is going to be playing that much in the first team as a starter, but certainly as a good backup player is going to be good. He's young, he's French. Good to, you know, get a few more French players in the side. I know that's a criticism that some of you guys have had, that I've not been signing enough French players. I did try and sign Martial in the summer because his contract expired at Manchester United. He actually went to Marseille on a free transfer, which is a little bit of a pain because Marseille, of course, are kind of one of our big rivals rivals. Anyway, in terms of the other signings we made, not so many first-team players, lots of youngsters, I think, for the future here. The first player we have, David Russell, Belgium international at under-21 level, has only just turned 17. His birthday was yesterday. He made 10 under-21 caps and 4 goals at the age of 16 for Belgium. Looks like a very, very good striker. We paid a release fee in his contract that he had at standard of 4.9 million. I'm hoping he's going to be a good little player for us this year. We'll probably get some appearances off the bench. Don't expect him to be immediately starting, but one of those players we're going to have on the back burner. Maybe we'll play the odd game here and there. You know, a player worth keeping an eye out on. Anyway, the next player we have Kliedson, another Brazilian youngster, you know, another player to add to our ranks. Technically does take up one of our foreign player slots, but I'm kind of quite happy about that. Obviously, with Moroni and Douglas Pope going, that was 2 of our 4 foreign player slots that were previously occupied, freed up. This guy obviously takes one of them. Good little attacking midfielder. We already knew he was going to be joining the club. We'll probably get quite a lot of first-team football this year, I imagine. He's very well suited to this level of football and just a good bit of strength in depth. The next player we have, Richard Gonzalez. We signed this guy, the Paraguayan international, for a very modest fee, £1.2 million, and we've immediately loaned him to Nice, where he's been promised he's going to be a first-team regular for them. Going to be interesting to see if that actually happens. I'd be somewhat surprised if he was an immediate starter for them, but he does look like a very, very good striker. With some of the young prospects we've got in our team, I don't know if he's going to be playing that much first-team football. As a result, you know, loaning him out to a league team who play in our division, it's only going to be good for his development, and, well, we'll be keeping tabs on him, hoping that he does get the regular first-team football that was kind of promised. The next player we have, Lavac. That's probably not how you say his name. We'll call him Lucas. It's a little bit easier that way. Another Czech international. We've had a fair few of these Czech players come in. I think this is our 4th or 5th now, but a very good centre-back. Looks really solid. Joins us for £800,000, low risk transfer. Hopefully he can continue to develop. Surov is the player who you might remember we agreed to sign like 2 years ago. He was a Russian player at the time. He looked quite good at the time. He hadn't got a club. He was just playing youth football in Russia. He's not very good. It was a mistake. Let's move on. That's 3 signings, though. Some good signings, I think. Maxime Lopez joining us from Marseille. We knew he was coming in. Good little free transfer, this one. Bit of a squad player. Another young Frenchman who might get some game time. Probably less likely than Rennie Adelaide. But, we'll see how he gets on here. He looks pretty good. We also have Timothy Tillman, who we signed on a free transfer. Good squad player, this guy. Probably more of a backup option than rotation. We should probably just change that in his squad status now, so he isn't too unhappy later on in the season. But yeah, he's a good little kind of backup player. If we get a lot of injuries, the kind of player we can call upon. And the last player we've signed for now, at least, is this guy, Perez, an Argentine international. We've signed him from PSG on loan for 2 years. So a long-term loan, this one. Very kind of low fee being paid. We aren't paying any kind of money each month. We are paying £7,000 a week of his wages, and it'll be £14,000 a week if he doesn't play regular first-team football for us, and he's an unused player. But to be honest, at that price, I'm pretty happy to bring this guy in. A 2-year loan that can't be cancelled by PSG. He can play against PSG as well. And to be honest, I think he's just going to be a good little squad centre-back. The centre-back position is certainly the main area of concern, an area that I needed to improve this summer. There weren't the right transfer targets out there. I looked at a few different players, and he was kind of the best player that I could spy, so we brought him in. In terms of other transfers going on, there's a few transfers that we've agreed in advance. A few of these had already happened. You might remember Boldan here was a player we agreed to sign last January. He joined us in 6 months' time. Really excited to get this guy into the first team. He looks like a fantastic player, only 17 years old. But there are a few other players. We've signed Kito here, who is a target man. You can see here, really hotly tipped by my scouts to do well, which is pretty exciting. £1.4 million we paid for him. Jan Koulibaly joins from ASEC for £200,000. ASEC, of course, a club in the Ivory Coast who we've signed a number of players on from in the past during my Football Manager series. Hopefully he can be another player to come from there and show us what he's made of. Looks like he could be a pretty good player, particularly for £200,000. And the last signing we've made that's definitely going through is this guy, Mulongo, who is a South African player. You can see here, 17 years old, going to be joining us actually next month. So that's kind of exciting. Just a young South African prospect, really hotly tipped by my scouts to have some good potential. Kind of excited to get him in the team, see what he can really offer. We met a release clause in his contract of £550,000, so that's good there. The last player that we have got that's not confirmed yet, but hopefully we'll be going through is Reece Oxford. Again, looking at a 2-year loan for this guy from West Ham. I think it would be a really good loan signing for us. Again, really adds to that centre-back area, which has been a kind of cause for concern, I guess. The loan, if I'm not mistaken, is a 2-year one that we are looking at. You can see here, the end of the next season, a backup player, only paying £9,000 £2,000 a week wages, it would be a great little temporary solution, I think. We've not really relied on loans too much here at Sochaux, but I feel like when there's a situation like we've got here where we kind of know that we need centre-backs, the right centre-backs aren't out there, we've not got a lot of money to spend. If there are loan signings we can make that are going to be 1 or 2 year loans, and we're not paying massive kind of extortionate transfer fees in order just to loan them, it's kind of a nice temporary solution that we can rely on, and so Reece Oxford would kind of fit into that quite nicely. Anyway, as I mentioned, today we are going to be taking on PSG to start the season. We have got a bit of a centre-back issue because we'll just call Felix. Felix. Why can I not remember his name or how to say it? It's Felix. It's Felix and Diarra. Well, Felix is injured, as you can see here, so we'll swap him out for Perez. The other issue we've got is Diarra is suspended for today's game, so it's going to be Ali who comes in for him. So yeah, Felix and Ali going to be our two centre-backs. Of course, Ali, the young Romanian, a player who didn't really play a lot of first-team football last year. He's going to get a chance this year, I think, a little bit more. Definitely a player who I want to see do well and has the potential to do well. Regular first-team football hopefully going to be a big factor in his development this year. And as you can see, this is the first team that we do have for this season. It's quite a big squad in terms of it's quite bloated, but what you may note is the fact that we have a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds who I'm going to have in the first team who will probably appear on the bench here and there, but I'm going to make them all available for the reserve team. You can see a lot of them ineligible for today's game because they've already played a reserve game today. But no, I really like these guys on the whole. I think they're going to be some good players for us. You know, the likes of Agude, Gautier, Orfray, Tessar. These are players who we've known for a while they're going to be good. Of course, if you've been watching the Academy episode, you'll know a little bit about these players. I want to get them in the first team football kind of sphere a little bit more, even if it's just training with the first team and not making a load of appearances. And yeah, you can see here, lots of them with first team kind of potential. And to realise that, I think it's going to be important that we do start to bed them into the team now. In terms of tactics, obviously the ongoing issue I've had is the striker position. The fact that we kind of have Millet, Ducasse and of course Kubik. And I wasn't really sure how to best solve the problem that I had, which was, well, the problem was basically we had too many strikers and I felt like I needed to be playing 2 strikers. This is what we're going to try. Now, it might not work. It might backfire horrifically. It's all a bit of an experiment at the end of the day, but it's not actually that dissimilar to what we've been playing the last few seasons. The main difference being that the inside forward on the right is now a complete forward and the 2 centre mids have swapped around. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I feel like this system is probably going to be tweaked a little bit as the season goes on. Of course, just to compare that to what we had previously, I can just quickly replace this tactic with what we had before. So this is what we were previously playing. You can kind of see the differences and how it's evolved. It's not a massive change really, it's just a bit of a flip of things. I notice Fuchs on the complete wing-back role, going to be looking for him to push up on that right-hand side for us. In terms of other systems we've got going on, I have got a contingency plan, which is this, which might look like a massive mess. It kind of is a big mess, but if we struggle with the new system, I would like to give this a go. I'd like to try playing 3 strikers with Kubik, Ducasse and Millet. Part of me wants to try it today against PSG. Part of me knows that it would probably backfire horrifically and today is not the day to drastically kind of fiddle around with our system. But yeah, be aware that we are kind of looking at ways to change the system this year, and it's probably going to be an ongoing process, particularly over the first 6 months of the season where we're kind of tinkering things to see how they work. But at least for now, this is how we're going to line up. I'm looking for Kubik as the complete forward, kind of, you know, to move into the channels you can see here with his instruction, but also drop into this area at times to kind of fulfill that role that the right inside forward previously had. Although with Blonde playing as a Mazzala, you'll probably see him fulfilling that role as well, you know, getting into this channel area as the inside forward. But I don't know, we'll have to see how things play out. It's a bit of an experiment this. I've not tried using a Mazzala without a player, you know, outside of him. We will trial it. If it backfires horrifically, we have systems that can work. We also have a system that I have no idea if it's going to work. But I feel like for the last few seasons, we've played it a little bit safe when it's come to our tactics in Football Manager, and this year might just be the season of experiments. Anyway, in terms of our team for today's game, we are going to start with Lafont in goal. He is going to be starting ahead of Sunday West, who is back in the first team this year. We'll probably play some games. Expect to see these 2 goalkeepers rotating around. For people wondering about the young Colombian international, we have loaned him out to Mainz in Germany, where he's going to be playing lots of regular first team football, which is good for him. In terms of the defence, we're going to go with Ben Chilwell at left back. Centre backs today, we are going to go with Perez, who is going to be playing against PSG, the club we've loaned him from on his debut. Alongside him, we go with Ali, of course, the centre-back problem is rearing its head here. The fact that both Felix and Diarra are unavailable is not ideal. We don't really have a fifth choice centre-back right now, which is why we're bringing in Reece Oxford. Out on the right-hand side, we're going to go with Jean-Do Fuchs playing the right-back role. I feel like this is a role that he can actually play really well, particularly the more complete wing-back role, which is what we require from this player playing out on the right-hand side without anyone further ahead of him. I think he's probably our best bet in that position. Anyway, defensive midfielder, we're going to go with Chevalier, a player who's been superb. You might notice a little bug that I've got at the moment. Not sure what's happened. Half my players who were white are now black in Football Manager things right there. Chevalier, I don't know what happened to you, mate. I'm sorry. Blonde, anyway, he's still white. I mean, it's good to see, isn't it? Yeah, he's still here. Further up the pitch, we've got Trincao out on the left. Centre attacking mid, we of course go with Almada. The front two, Kubik. You can see here the Czech international looks absolutely ferocious. Really excited to see this guy really fully break into the first team this year after such a great breakthrough first half to his kind of time at the club during his kind of half a season he had last year. 10 goals, 17 appearances, a really high average rating. Of course, ahead of him, we are going to have Ducasse again, suffering from the same thing as Chevalier, where for some reason his regen face has decided to change ethnicity. But, well, hopefully he can have a better season than last year. Because last year, I don't want to call out Ducasse, he was a little underwhelming. We didn't really have any offers for him in the summer. I did talk about the possibility of selling him. It never really came to fruition, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on if you're a fan of him. But anyway, this is how we're going to line up. A bit of an experiment, might backfire horrifically. We'll see how we get on. Boys, we've got nothing to lose here. Show me what you're capable of. This is not an easy game. We are playing against PSG. I'm a little apprehensive for what this might end up being like, particularly with the makeshift centre-back positions. Obviously, we come into this game without Felix or Diarra, who were previously our first-choice centre-backs. It is, however, a chance for Perez, who's on loan from PSG, and Ali to kind of show that maybe they are ready for first-team football. Maybe they are capable of stepping up and filling the shoes of our two kind of other centre-backs. But yeah, we'll see how we get on today. As I said, this system, not fully tested. I did play it a little bit over pre-season, although, to be honest, our pre-season was... we didn't really test ourselves that much. I kind of played it a little bit safe with the teams we played against. We did also try the free striker system that I showed before for one game. It was against Gillingham, I want to say, and I think we beat them 6-0, but it was Gillingham. Yeah, take from that what you can. I feel like pre-season in Football Manager, to be honest, you can never read into it too much. You know, most of the AI teams completely rotate their teams at half-time and such. But, well, this first half's not been too bad. I guess we've not completely crumbled, which I guess was the main concern. We've held firm, at least for now, and it's going to be 0-0 at the break. Part of me is really tempted to treat this as a pre-season kind of tester and to try playing the free striker system. Would it be stupid? Yes. Do I want to do it? Yes. Let's give it a go. This is how I'd imagine it would set up a lot of the time. So I talked about it before, but you have Lafont in goal, Perez and Ali in this instance playing the two centre-back positions, although Ali isn't quite as good with the ball at his feet as Felix, who would normally play there. The midfield is made up of Chevalier as a deep-line playmaker, Fuchs on the right, Chilwell on the left, Almada and Blonde as two centre mids, and then a front three of Kubik, Ducasse and Millet. You know what? This might backfire horrifically, but I kind of want to see what happens. We've been unlucky so far. We've not had the best first half. They dominated the game for the most part. Let's just truly experiment here. Let's see what the free striker system could do. I've not used it this year in Football Manager. I've heard from a lot of people that playing free strikers is very good. It usually is in Football Manager. I've never used inverted wing-backs in a YouTube save for a system. Obviously, it's still a fairly new role, but yeah, uncharted territory here as we do have a set-piece. Ali! Free header, probably got to do better there. But, well, the first highlight of the game, it took a while to get coming. Took 60 minutes, but it was Ali with the header from the corner. It was a free header at that. Needed to hit the target. Unfortunately, wasted the opportunity. But you'd have to say, looking at the stats, I think we've actually been better than them in the second half. I mean, famous last words now as they are on the attack. Maybe I've just jinxed us horrifically, but it's not completely crumbled. We've not instantly conceded 6 playing with 2 centre-backs, which I guess is good news. Although we do immediately give the ball away there, which isn't great. Can we defend this? Petit out on the right-hand side. Blocked nicely. Millet trying to work back there to get the ball. This is where we could have problems with the inverted wing-back pushing up like that, as they have a chance. But, well, Guedes puts it wide of the mark. The young Portuguese player, not with the best finish in the world. Let's make a few more changes here. I feel like we'll bring Gregory Hubert into the side, a player who I do want to play more regular first-team football to this year. Very good player, the 18-year-old. You can see here, not that great at playing right wing-back, but that is where he's going to have to play for us. We're a little bit light in the defensive department, to be honest. I feel like the other change we might make is to bring in Clay Edson for a bit of a debut, bring him in for Almada, see what he can do as kind of a more playmakery player in the centre of the midfield. He's actually pretty good at that role. So yeah, we'll give him this chance, I guess, to shine on the big stage, see what he can do. But yeah, let's see. We're bringing in a few younger players. I'm very much treating this as a bit of an experimental game. As much as I'd love to win this kind of glorified community shield, I have no idea if it's a big trophy in France in terms of how the fans are concerned. To me, it's not that big of a deal. As Mohamed Salah puts the shot narrowly wide of the mark. You can see here, actually, PSG have made some really scary signings. They're a very, very good side in this save. They've got some decent players. And, we need to stop Mbappe here, who is very decent. Salah with one effort. The font stopped it, but it fell back to the Liverpool player. And, is this how it feels to get scored against by Salah? As a Liverpool fan, it feels a little bit wrong to see his little face there scoring against us. Poor set-piece defending, though. It's something that has plagued us. I do wonder to what extent the fact that we are, of course, playing two kind of untested centre-backs with one another and a bit of an experimental system is having on our set-piece defending, players not having that same cohesion that perhaps we're used to. Obviously, we have rotated the team a little bit, but, it's 1-0 to PSG here. This wouldn't be a bad result if it was a league game, put it that way, playing against PSG. This is a neutral venue as well, if I'm not mistaken, as Lafont just does some weird FM goalkeeping magic in the near post. But no, this hasn't been that bad. Part of me really does want to try the system this year as the main system. Perhaps the complete forward system's a bit too safe. It's a bit too close to what we know. I'd be interested to know, should I be trying this system more? I don't feel like it's been that bad. But at the same time, it's a bit of a Frankenstein's creation. But I know a lot of you guys in the comments were desperate to see Kubik, Millet and Ducasse all play alongside each other as a front three. And with a few of the younger strikers we've brought in, it is perhaps a viable tactic. I wouldn't say we have the best strength and depth in the striker position. But we have probably got enough strikers in our arsenal to play a free striker system if we wanted to. Anyway, I'm going to tell the players I'm far from pleased with what I just saw. Not the best result there, if we're being honest. A 1-0 defeat. Not entirely surprising. Good to give a few players debuts. We received £66,000, so there is that. As I mentioned, it is still quite early on in pre-season. It's the 31st of July. The season doesn't actually kick off for another week. In terms of our finances, you can see here, pretty positive all in all, the £7 million in the bank. We haven't had any updates on the stadium that's planning on being built just yet. So, keep an eye out for that. Maybe we'll find something out new about that in the not-so-distant future. As I mentioned, we have got European football this year. We still don't know our Champions League group. In terms of when we'll be back, I'm not entirely sure. We might just come back for the first Champions League game. I might do one of these other games in between, depending on how much tactical tinkering we do. It might be interesting to come back and just see how things are shaping up. Just in terms of squad depth, to round up today's episode, just so you can kind of see the situation we're in. To be honest, we have really good strength in depth this season. I'm pretty happy with the position that we're in. I feel like we've got a lot of good young players here as well who I'm excited to see kind of really work their magic this season. The strength in depth is really, it's really solid. There's no other way to look at it, really. It's really difficult to be negative, I guess, about the situation we're in. I feel like the signings we've made have added to the team. I feel like this year, as I mentioned, I guess the realistic goal is to hit top three again. The unrealistic goal would be to try and really push Monaco for second place, or at least challenge the likes of Monaco and PSG. With some of the young players we've got coming in, I still feel like we're very much a team in development. When you look at the team as a whole, the average age of this squad is ridiculously young. You look at it, we have Chilwell who's 24, Diarra who's 26, everyone else is 23 or under. This would, by a lot of accounts, be considered, a too young or a side to be performing at this level. But I do feel like we've got enough talent here to really push for top four again this year. I feel like the main aim this season has got to be to become a regular Champions League team. I think we've got the team to do that. And I really want to also be, this season, kind of really giving opportunities to some of these players to give them first-team opportunities when the right opportunity arises, and really developing the team that we have. I felt like going into this summer, and certainly now coming towards the end of the summer, I didn't feel a massive pressure to go out there and sign a load of first-team players, because I actually feel like the first-team players that we've got are good enough. I feel like the big test for us now, really, is pretty much just developing the players that we've got. We've brought in a lot of players on the cheap when they're young, rather than paying the big fees when they're in their primes. and you kind of look across the first team, lots of players in their 20s, you know, even late teens. I'm pretty excited to see the direction we can go in, and I think this season is going to be an interesting test of can the kids perform, can they develop, and can we really show the quality that, you know, in a few seasons' time, this is the kind of crop of players that could be winning us a title. I feel like that is the big challenge. Anyway, just one last thing I'll mention now, just because it's fairly big, and I completely forgot about it earlier, but we have updated our assistant manager. I've brought in this guy, Henrik Pedersen, very good at judging player ability and potential, so we should get more accurate reflections in terms of players' star ratings, which is good to see. And, well, yeah, hopefully it'll help us with our youth development, just have a better idea of just how good different players are. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up today from me. Slightly longer episode than usual, perhaps, but lots to get through with this being the start of a new season. Let me know on the system front. Do you think we should maybe persevere with the free striker system, see if we can get it working? Part of me is maybe tempted to start the inverted wing-backs slightly deeper as kind of more traditional full-backs. I'm not entirely sure. I'd be interested to know your perspective on things. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up everything from me today. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like on today's video. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.